Hi, welcome everybody. So I'm happy to introduce myself, but maybe we could hear introductions from everybody here. Gregor McEwen, great Scottish name if I ever heard one.
There we go. I remember to unmute finally. Yes. Well, I'm actually mostly from Australia, but my father is from Paisley, so that's where the Scottish influence comes from. So I'm founder of the company Model Mara, and at the moment I do lots of data science consulting for the aquaculture industry, mostly salmon farmers. And I'm hoping to transition that into more of a product-based company, which would be hopefully less hands-on from me. It's a little bit hectic at the moment, but that's future plans. At the moment, it's going well. I'm okay with the consulting.
Great, thank you very much indeed. Do I say Simon, or is that how I pronounce it? Simon Cormier? Simon, are you there? No worries. We'll go over to Barry. Barry, I'd love to get an introduction from you and hear a little bit about what you're doing and what you're hoping to get out of this session. Barry, are you there? No worries. We'll go over to Clark McLeod. Clark, I can see you there. Good to see you as always. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Excellent. And Clark, I know lots about you. And what are you hoping to get out of this session today?
Well, I try to come to all your sessions because I think I can always get something from them. But certainly anything related to how to be a mentor or the value of mentorship, and I've yet to find a mentor, but yeah.
Have you been looking for a mentor?
Not actively, no. But,
okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we'll talk about that. That's actually a good question. How to find a mentor? Brilliant. So we'll talk about that as well. And then Rachel, if I could come to your group, if they wouldn't mind introducing themselves and telling me a little about themselves. Go for it. You're on mute though.
Yeah, so for the benefit of everyone here, my name is Troy von Brauke.
Troy, I didn't recognize you. Yep.
Co-founder of World Formula Apps, and that's a think tank that is in the process of looking to find its first customer and start up a B2B here in Canada. So unifying quantum mechanics and general theory of relativity into a single formula.
Beautiful.
The challenge has been, which vertical to go into. And so I'm here today to make sure I'm using my mentor properly. And which is Permjot.
A good start. I didn't recognize you in the face mask, so that's a good start.
But also, yeah, similar to Clark, I had never had a mentor before, in the sense that I've had people that I've considered mentor-like at different phases of my life. And I never actively searched for a mentor, but when I got stuck and I started looking and I found people, I always found that at some points in my life, I found mentors that got me through that hump. And so I think they're extremely valuable, and I think it's important that it's a two-way relationship, that you're both growing from it.
Beautiful, beautiful. And then Rachel, who's to your left?
Yeah, this is Redden here. He actually works in the startup zone. If we want to go over to Matthew next, and then we'll do quickly.
Matthew?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, so my name is Mathieu, or Matthew. Yeah, I have I guess a software company. So I'm I don't know what my official title is. I don't know if I have one. Product manager, or something of the like. So yeah, I'm having fun with that. So just a couple of apps on the App Store, and we're building out and doing the software process and all that. And I'm into the user experience and improving the customer journey and improving. So adding delight, but also usefulness of the app. So I'm kind of focusing on that, building the product. So yeah, and for this workshop, I know that mentorship is extremely important, and I guess similar to what you were saying is just how to leverage mentorship, and yeah, so kind of the promise, I guess, of this workshop is yeah, how to go about it, what are the best practices, and just to hear the wisdom. So I'm here to learn.
Right, right. So thank you. So Simon, thank you very much for your text messages. I'm getting them. Thank you. Simon, if you can't get through, I still want to make sure that what I say is of relevance to you. So if you don't mind, just typing in connecting to audio. That's great. So hopefully this will work. So great to have you with us. And Barry, are you with us? Barry, you are.
Yes, I am.
Great to hear from you, Barry. Love to learn a little bit more about you and what you'd like to get out of this session.
I've been running a software company for about 30 years. It's a point of sale and accounting software called Retail Magic. We've got about 40 installs here on PEI, and we're about to go national. So I need guidance.
Beautiful. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. And we're still waiting for Simon. We will get to you. I can see the dots there suggesting you're trying to connect to audio. So hopefully that will work. If not, just as I said, just text in, and I just want to make sure that your time is very, very valuable and that I spend my time talking about issues that are relevant to you rather than go off and speak about other stuff. And then Rachel, if you could, while Simon is hopefully trying to get on audio, and Simon is with us now. Simon, hello. Simon, can you hear me? I can hear the music in the background, so Simon is with us.
That's great. Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Great, Simon. Do let us know if there's anything that you'd like me to focus on, or there's anything you'd like me to talk about in particular. If it's noisy where you are, appreciate that. Just type in a response, and I'll be able to tailor my presentation to meet all of your needs. In the meantime, Rachel, if you could introduce say a few words about yourself, and of course about the wonderful startup zone that has enabled this thing to happen today.
For sure, yeah. So I'm Rachel. You guys all know me, but I'm the marketing and events coordinator at the Startup Zone. Yeah, I'm super excited for your session today, Permjot. The part one of how to use mentors was one of my very first events here at the Startup Zone coordinating. So I thought it was just awesome, and it was great how engaging it is. So I'm really excited to kind of dive into that a bit more as far as how we can use mentors digitally. But also, we just launched a new page on our website. If you go under the About session and hit our specialist, it's now fully updated with all our mentors like Permjot you can reach out to. So I think it's really timely that you're here kind of talking about how we can best utilize those folks while we're also trying to really promote all the different folks that we have here at the Startup Zone. So yeah, we're always happy to have you, Permjot.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully it won't be too long before I'm in PEI in person, but I understand a lot of people are bringing in COVID-19 with them, so maybe not just yet. Let's just wait till things. Let's go back to normal first. And Rachel, the gentleman to your left.
Hey, I'm Redden. I'm the services coordinator down here at the Startup Zone. Got some cool stuff going on the side right now. I'm brewing up with a co-founder agreement, and I've been consulting my mentors a lot. But I guess just today, I'm just gonna go on doing the basics on like how to best use your mentors.
Great. Brilliant. Great. So thank you very much, everybody. I will just start speaking. And the great thing about having not a large audience is we can make sure that this is tailored to your needs rather than just talking about generic stuff. So if I'm talking about stuff that isn't relevant to you, it probably isn't relevant to anybody else on the call. So do flag up. I just want to make the most of your time. So with mentors, it's actually a good place to start is actually the whole concept of making most of people's time. The thing that, and some of this will obviously be repeated from the very first, the how to use a mentor part 1. So some of that, there will be an overlap. I apologize to the few of you who are on that session as well. But the most important thing is time. And I was really heavily influenced by something a mentor of mine told me many, many years ago, that the only thing money can buy you is time. That's it. That's the only thing. The difference between people with money and the people without money is they have time. So use that time very, very, very wisely, because it's the only thing ultimately that counts. So there are lots of people who want to mentor you, and there are loads of people that enjoy mentoring, but that doesn't mean that they are necessarily good mentors for you. And I think what you've got to do is find out whether there are 3 spheres, as I look at it, where you've got to make sure that there is a fit. And those 3 spheres are opportunities, capabilities, and values. And I talk about this in terms of strategy, that your most valuable competitive position is where opportunities, values, and capabilities meet. But actually, I've been thinking about that more and more in terms of a mentoring perspective. And you could either look for a mentor that, so Barry, you talked about you want to go national now. You've got 8 sites already on the island, and now you're looking to go national, and you want guidance. So one of the things you might do is look at not the opportunity, but the capabilities. You're looking for a mentor with the capabilities and the proven experience of having taken a software product national. So you could do a very, very, very focused search on somebody who would be willing to mentor you, but they have experience of navigating that particular opportunity. So they have the capabilities, and they can actually spend time with you telling you, oh, Barry, don't do that. Oh yeah, I did that. It was a big mistake. Oh, Barry, the thing we learned was da, da, da. You want to take advantage of the mistakes they've already made at great cost. So that being an example of somebody who is looking at the capabilities network. With you, Gregor, you might be looking for somebody actually with the opportunities piece, where the opportunity for you is, I'm a consultant and I want to transform from consultancy into a product base. So it's not about my earnings being limited to the amount of hours I'm available. I want to earn money while I'm sleeping. I want to earn money while other people are working on my behalf, etc., etc., etc. So there, you're actually looking for a mentor who knows about that opportunity and how to make the most of that opportunity. Some of us, now Clark, he runs a great little business where it's number in the top 3 or 4 in the world of actually helping children with a range of media products. So he is probably not necessarily looking at mentors from an opportunities point of view or a capabilities point of view. He's kind of nailed that, but he might be looking for a mentor that actually resonates with his values. And I know for Troy, I know from the time I've spent with him, for Troy, values is very, very important in terms of the vision he has, in terms of improving Canada's competitive ability and the race against, I think, totalitarian regimes in terms of the way we process huge, vast quantities of data. So there, with both of you, it might be that you're looking for a mentor where your values and their values match, because it is very difficult to take advice seriously from somebody whose values you don't respect. It's very important. So, and there's nothing wrong with values. I'm not ascribing any kind of, but your values might be that you're extraordinarily ambitious and you really want, at all costs win, like sporting kind of a coach. That would be a very different mentor that would be right for you from someone whose values are much more around social impact, sustainability, etc. I'm not prescribing labels that one is better than the other. You've got to find the label that works best for you. So that's the starting point in terms of when you are looking for mentors. Look for mentors where there is that match. Does that Barry? Does that resonate with what I'm? Does it resonate with you and what you're looking for, or am I completely wrong?
No, it makes perfect sense. Somebody with experience in what I want to do is who I'd want to have as a mentor. Beautiful.
And it's not just about experience. It's about the specific experience about have they done X, Y, and Z. Now, I've always said there's a big difference between mentoring, coaching, and consulting. Very, very different. And sometimes people get confused between the 3 things. Troy will tell you that the sessions we have are mentoring. I know nothing about his industry. I know nothing about his domain, but I know about asking good questions around business. So I'm a generalist mentor. And that's mentoring is really, Barry, about, you know, you and I just going for a coffee or just meeting over Zoom and having a quick chat around things. What makes it work? Oh, have you thought about doing this? Oh, that's interesting. What's about your pricing model? Oh, why'd you do it this way? Have you thought about doing it this way? So there are a whole range of things you could think of doing around a mentor. A coach is someone where Gregor would say, I have these set of skills that I really want to improve, and a coach has experience of developing those skills. Often coaches are paid. Mentors are never paid. Mentors are always free. Or you, the person receiving the menteeship, are not paying. So there might be another way that they get paid or whatever, but you're not paying. And you're just really having a coffee and picking their brain about wide area of things. You don't actually define what I want to get out of this mentoring session is this. You have general problems that you want to solve that they may be able to help you with. But with a coach, I would be working with Gregor and saying, Gregor, we really need to work on your skills in how you present. We really need to work on your skills on how you articulate your pitch. We really need to work with you on your product, you know, the actual product you want to position. So a coach can do that. Finally, you might have a consultant. Consultants are almost always paid. And a consultant would be somewhere where you would say, Barry, you could go to them and say, I want to do X, Y, and Z, which is a national initiative. I need you to work for me and I'm going to pay you X. And the output I expect is Y. There's a defined output you expect. So you know whether the consultant has been successful or not. Now, I think a lot of consultants, they want you to pay them as a consultant, but they want you to measure them as a mentor, where the outputs are ambiguous and vague. And I think you've got to match like with like, and you've got to, if you've got a consultant, you have got to have a proper arrangement which says, I will pay you X and I expect Y in return. What never works is you pay someone to be a consultant, but the output is kind of, well, I just want you to help me and I'll kind of know if things are working. That is a bad arrangement. So just make sure you match the outputs with that. So it may be actually that your needs, Barry, might be, I don't know enough. It might be your needs are better met by a consultant with, help me get in national distribution by doing X, Y, and Z. Help me do this. Or a mentor, or you might just want a mentor where you say, actually, you know, I've got the skills. I've been running a software company for 30 years. I've got 8 places launched. The only thing I'm looking for is just general guidance. I just want to kind of just the do's and don'ts. I don't need a specific, you know, I just want to have a chat with somebody about it. That's a mentoring thing. So I hope you all appreciate the difference between a mentor, a coach, and a consultant. So I think the very first thing you should all ask is, are you looking for a mentor? Are you looking for a coach? Or are you looking for a consultant? Then we also agreed on, if you are looking for a one or whatever, I think the opportunities, values, capabilities is also a good opportunity for you to think about, well, what kind of mentor do I want? Now, I find that a lot of mentoring, if you have some very specific issues, like Gregor, you might have some very, very specific issues. Matthew, you will have some very specific issues around mentoring as well. Sometimes it helps to find somebody who is 2 to 3 years ahead of you. So Barry, if you spoke to somebody who 20 years ago took a software product national, you may find that a lot of their knowledge, sadly, has become redundant. Knowledge is eroding. I used to do sales training, and I was very good at sales training. I've done a couple of sessions in PEI, and I was very good at it. But then I increasingly worked with other sales trainers, and I just kind of realized I just don't know how people do sales these days. I don't. And I can keep on trying to teach you how to do sales the way it used to be highly effective in the 90s, but that's 20 years ago. And I still do a bit of sales now, but I use my old method and old clients to sell to, where the old technologies work. If you ask me, Barry, how do I take this national? I have no clue. I have no clue whatsoever. Now, I could still, I'm a very good mentor and I can give you lots of advice about other things, but I could give you good advice about who would make a good consultant or what tests to use, etc., etc. But I have zero domain expertise in that. Gregor, I can tell you about Microsoft, how Microsoft actually started as a consulting business and then became a product. I can give you loads of case studies of actually the path of starting as a consultant and then productizing it is a well-trodden path by a lot of academics. I can tell you that. But when was the last time I actually went from consultancy to a product? Many, many years ago. And knowledge rapidly changes. So one of the things you've got to also be careful of is that you do find depending on what you want, and that's the critical piece. If you want real specific insights into an industry or into how things are working, you need somebody who's no more than 2 or 3 years ahead of you. Because you could easily find, Barry, you could find somebody easily who's got that experience, but you'll find brilliant experience. And if I was doing this 20 years ago, they would have been the perfect partner. The problem is I'm not doing it 20 years ago, I'm doing it now. And things change rapidly. So that is something to bear in mind. So I would welcome the opportunity for you to ask questions and just to engage. And I want to make sure that I'm hitting the right notes and everything. So Clark, I haven't really covered anything that you like. Are you happy with what's happening, or would you like me to focus on 1 or 2 specific areas for you? No, you're good. And Matthew, are you happy? I haven't really given you specific. I was going to say pick on that indicates my personality. So Matthew, is there anything that you think I haven't spoken about that you would find helpful?
I think the overall framework is really good. I think good frameworks are very simple and allow you to solve a lot of problems. And I think even these 2 frameworks are excellent. And I guess for me is because where I'm at is that I have a couple of products. We have I think 1,000 users or 800 users between the 2, and I think the product needs to get better. So I guess from what I got already is that I know I want to find somebody who can help me. I guess probably so. Maybe you can. I think I want a mentor to guide me in terms of what I need to do to become a better product manager. So I know, for instance, that I was just doing some data analysis, and so we had 1,000 people download, and I think only 100 became users. But the users that are using love it. So basically what I'm getting from the data is that they're having a tough time figuring out how the app works. But once they figure out how it works, then they love it and they stay. They don't.
Right.
The churn is very low. So I guess it's like I guess maybe what I'm getting already from this from our workshop now is that I want somebody to help me. What does a product strategy roadmap look like? How do we, what are the things to look at? And so I guess, my question would be, how would I go about the search now that I know I want something like this? And
Brilliant. So we'll come on to that. We'll come on to that next. First, what I want to do is I just want to be careful. The best mentors I've ever had, they don't actually tell me anything. They really don't. And that might be very annoying. The best mentors, you present your plans to them, and then they just ask you incredibly powerful questions. And those questions are like, wow. So be very careful. And again, consultants, they give you answers because you have very specific questions, and you say, I need you to answer X, Y, and Z. How do I improve my conversion rate? I've got 800 people, only 100 become users. How do I improve that conversion rate? That's a very specific question. That's more a question for a consultant. If you turned around and said, this is what I'm doing, this is my plan, this is what I propose to do. A good mentor with loads of wide domain level, across domain expertise, a good mentor will simply say, why have you done it that way? Have you thought about this? What happens when you do this? What would happen if X? Can you think of other comparables? Oh, do you know, I know this company and what they did was da-da-da-da-da. Now, this sounds very strange, but I was working for the sandwich company, and what the sandwich company, and you're like, hang on, I'm talking about apps, and this guy's talking about sandwich companies. But then suddenly you'll see this kind of insight, because what great mentors bring is range. And if you've read the David Epstein book, Range, it's all about how increasingly you've got to be very creative to find solutions to today's problems. And creativity comes from range. It comes from being able to apply something you might have learned in ancient Greek history to a modern problem. It was interesting. I had heard about something. And my son, he asked me. He's 16 years old and he was getting very frustrated that he was learning about ancient Greek history and what has ancient Greek history got to do with anything today. And then I actually gave him this example where there was a medical doctor who was tackling stomach tumors, and he had this patient with a particularly nasty stomach tumor, and his issue was, how do I tackle that stomach tumor? Because he had these rays that he could put on the tumor, but if he focused the rays on the tumor, the rays were very, very powerful, and the rays would destroy the tumor. They would, but they would destroy all the good cells between the skin and the tumor. If he didn't want to damage the skin, the cells between the skin and the tumor, he could use a low level of ray, but the low level of ray would have no impact on the cells, but it wouldn't have impact on the tumor either. So he had this struggle. And then there was this story in ancient Greek around this dictator, and a military leader wanted to overthrow the dictator, but they had to capture a fortress in the center. And the fortress at the center couldn't be captured because there were loads and loads of spikes and obstacles along the way. So he couldn't send a big army. He could only send small batches of soldiers. But the problem with sending small batches of soldiers is obviously they're going to be ineffective in the fortress. So what this general did was decided, I'm going to send a small number of soldiers across 20 different spots, and I'll synchronize it so that they all arrive. They all manage the obstacles because there'll only be about 20 of them at a time. But they'll all arrive and descend at the fortress at the same time, then overpowering the dictator. Now, you might be thinking, what has that got to do with stomach tumor? Some of you will have worked out that actually what you would do is you'd send multiple low dosages all over, and they would arrive at the same time at the tumor. So the point is that this is a true story. This person, this medical doctor, was reading about this ancient Greek military thing randomly over a weekend, and reading that strategy made them realize that's the way I tackle this stomach tumor. So that I gave my son that story, and he was like, wow. So the point I'm making is that's what a mentor does. A mentor will use an annoying story about sandwiches, an annoying story about how ancient Greeks overtook a dictator, to make you think, wow, that's how I can tackle this problem. So that's what you're looking for in a mentor as well. And again, one of the problems with having a mentor who's only got one, the most annoying mentors are actually the mentors who've only ever experienced huge success. Because then their answer to everything is, I did this, what I would do. That's not good mentoring. Good mentoring is somebody who actually has an understanding of how bloody difficult things are, and how it's not as straightforward as, well, you know what you should do. So be wary of anyone who says, oh, that's easy. What you need to do is X, Y, and Z. So hopefully that's useful for all of you. And I'm sure you're all confident enough to say Simon, and we've got two Simons. I've never had that before, two Simons. Simon Santos and Simon Cormier. So hopefully you're finding this relevant and useful. If not, if there is anything you'd like me to talk about that is more relevant to your needs, please do feel free to shout out. And Patrick Farrar, great to have you join us as well. Just always have clearly your photos are better than no, the photo's better. Please go back to the photo, please. So that's good. That's good. And it's good to see that hairstyle coming back in fashion. So thank you. I wanted to just now move on to how do we, now that we know roughly what we want in terms of mentoring, how do we go about getting it? Well, one of the things is the Startup Zone has a list of mentors on their program. You're not limited to that, but I think it's sometimes very difficult sometimes I do get requests from people I don't know to mentor them. And, I've got to be honest, I'm not inclined to do that. You kind of want to meet people and have some level of relationship. So most of your mentors will come from a network you already know. So, very, very helpfully, Startup Zone have, if you just look on the chat function, they've listed Pat Sebastian has listed, Patrick, they've listed the mentors that are available. So look for mentors that you can actually get connected to through them. Also look for mentors that you know through your LinkedIn network, or some that you think would be inspired to help you. People often don't understand why mentors do this. So, Gregor, why do you think somebody would want to mentor you?
Sorry, I was just hunting for the unmute button. I would. So you're asking what would motivate them?
Yeah, why would I want to mentor you? Let's just be as egotistical as that. Let's just assume you want me as a mentor. Why should I mentor you? What would I get out of it?
Well, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what motivates you, partly because I don't know you particularly well.
In general, what do you think would motivate anybody, let's say, to mentor you?
Well, I fairly strongly believe... Sorry?
This is about you, not me. So why would anybody want to mentor you?
Okay. Well, I would like to think that it's, at least at the start, it's... I fairly strongly believe in what I'm doing. I think it's I think the area in which I work is valuable to society, and I think I'm contributing something that's useful and will grow that industry and help them to achieve various desirable goals. And as it goes on, I like to think that I'm good at listening to people and interpreting advice, and yeah, if it's valuable advice, obviously I make the decision at the end, but I'm pretty good at, I do follow through with things that people have, or outcomes of discussions with people who are offering advice.
Okay. Barry, why would anybody want to mentor you? What do you think they'd get out of mentoring you?
Well, it would, in my opinion, be a relationship that you're starting to build. But to build a relationship, there's got to be trust, and it's something that if they knew me, they would understand that I'm a good person that goes to church every week and has a wife and a couple of kids, and my goal, my passion is to help small businesses become more successful through education. And so I need to find a mentor with that same value system, I guess, that had the expertise I'm looking for.
See, I like what you said. I like what you said, Barry, and I like what you said, Gregor. And the answer, the fact is, you gave two very, very different answers. Very different answers. And I think that therein lies the kind of rub of the matter, which is you've got to think through what mentors want. And mentors, I don't feel the need to be listened to. I think what I enjoy about mentoring is, and I think most of the mentors I work with, and I've done a number of things in PEI actually, with where I bring all these mentors together. I don't think people realize how much the mentor benefits from a good relationship. And what happens is when I'm mentoring someone, I actually learn more. I become a wiser person at the end of a mentoring session than when the mentoring session began. So and every mentor is different, but what attracts me to mentoring is the idea of learning. So as you can mention, mentoring Troy, there've been a great deal of learnings for me. Mentoring people from all kind of walks of life, there's a great deal of learning because I'm exposing the kind of Greek, have you tried, what about this analogy? And then you say, actually, here's another analogy. And then suddenly I'm like, wow. And then I might be talking about a problem that Barry is having in his business and how Barry has tackled other problems. And then suddenly I'm recognizing I have the same problem with one of these companies. Oh my gosh, Barry, you've just solved the other problem. And I think one of the things you've got to be very clear of is that you do have that value to give. So if I was talking to someone like Matthew is very, very clear around his product management proposition. He's very clear about the things he does well. There are some learnings there. What I don't want to do is I don't want to have a mentoring session with a teenager. I have a teenage daughter who knows everything. Every time I offer a suggestion, I know that. And I don't want to have if I want that, I can just talk to her. I don't need that from my mentee. And that is sadly how a lot of mentors feel, because there are a lot of people who get mentored once and once only, because the mentor will decide, I do not want to mentor that person again because there was no exchanging of ideas. Because what I want to do, what I want, and don't be careful, this is what I want. Other mentors will be different. What I want is a really good conversation. I don't want, right, Permjot, I've got these 7 questions. Question number 1, how would you go about productizing consulting thing? Great. If I'm getting paid to do that, I'll do that, but it will be a clock watching exercise. And your mentor will, okay, we're done. It's now exactly 1 o'clock. That's 1 hour. And you'll spot that. You'll spot that they're there for the money or they're there for whatever reason. And I think you've really got to understand, is the mentor genuinely enjoying this? Because if they are, you'll get the best out of them. If they're not, they'll kind of run down the clock. And we've all had that situation where we're with somebody who's running down the clock. We've had that. Lawyers, it depends. So think through that kind of value proposition that you're bringing. So, and sometimes young entrepreneurs like Matthew, they will, I can't see you from a distance, so I'm just assuming you're a young Matthew. But young entrepreneurs, they have this kind of belief that mentors should help them because they should just help them. And that's not true. What mentors want is they actually want positive engagement. I want to learn something from you, Matthew. I want to learn about, well, tell me about how you do product management. What lessons can I learn from you that I can apply? I mean, the great thing about mentoring is I've probably done way over 10,000 hours of mentoring. And I'm now a really, really good mentor, but that's because of all the hours I've put in learning. You don't learn by speaking. So I'm not learning during this 1 hour, which is fine. It's my pleasure. I'm going to be learning in those conversations we have. When Barry tells me about how he helps small businesses, when Barry tells me about how he got into 8 stores on the island, when I hear about why he wants to go national, when I hear that actually that passion is driven by his belief that he can make life better for independent businesses by giving them better access to information that enables them to make timely and better decisions about stock levels, inventory shifts, all that stuff. I'm just making this stuff up, Barry. I don't know if any of that's true.
Well, that's true.
But that then suddenly we're having a rich conversation. I'm like, wow, I'm going to be learning stuff. And same with you, Matthew. I know nothing about your apps and stuff, but if you just want to talk to me to impress me with and that's often what happens with mentors as well. Sometimes we approach mentors with the view to that it will begin as a mentor relationship. They might end up becoming an employee. They might end up joining my board. They may end up becoming an investor. That's not a good, I don't think that's good. So one of the things, so I went on a training course that MIT run. It was a 3-day training course on running mentoring organizations. One of the things the MIT model doesn't allow, it doesn't allow mentors to invest in companies that they mentor. And you sometimes think, hang on, that's a bit weird, because I like to invest in startups as well. I've invested in a fair number. But then you realize, actually, it's because we're going to have very different conversations. So if Clark is thinking of me as an investor in his company, and Clark says, and we're having a mentoring session, he's not going to say, Permjot, I'm really worried about payroll. I don't know if I'm the right person for this job. I sometimes feel completely overwhelmed. I'm really struggling with this. I'm really struggling with this. Can you help me? By the way, would you like to invest $1 million in my business? You know, it's just not going to happen. You can have the honest conversation, or you can have the pitch conversation. The pitch conversation is going to be, listen, things are going really well. My nervousness is, I don't know how we're going to manage all this growth and all these opportunities. Can you help me with all these great leads, and what do I do? And he's going to only come to me with those positive problems, so that he thinks, oh, by the way, would you like to invest? And so that is great if you want that investment thing. So I've always had an issue with forums where you want to be both mentored and you want to raise money, because I think it's kind of, I just need honest conversations with you about how terrible things you're going through is, because I recognize that when you are having an investment conversation, it's a very, very different conversation. So any questions?
I've got a question.
Please.
You mentioned a mentor that could be 2 to 3 years ahead. Would that be a mentor that's potentially in a competitive space?
No, they're 2 or 3 years ahead of you in what you want to do. So it could be, Troy, in your example, it could be somebody who took a groundbreaking piece of IP and commercialized it. So it doesn't have to be anything to do with what you're doing with World Formula apps. It doesn't have to be anything to do with formulas or science or physics, but it could be somebody who has it's about pattern recognition. One of the questions I always like is, what is intelligence? People often think they can articulate what intelligence is. Well, when you look at raw IQ tests look for people's ability to spot patterns. I'm going to give you these 3 shapes. Tell me what the 4th shape is. Which shape doesn't fit? That is intelligence. Your ability to spot patterns and spot anomalies, spot where the pattern is broken down and why. So that's intelligence. So what you're looking for is actually pattern recognition. You're looking at, what have I done? So Barry, you might actually find that you could learn a lot from somebody like Freshie. You might find somebody who's run franchises from retail, and you're like, hang on, whoa. But then something that they took an idea and they rolled it out. And there are some patterns that there's pattern recognition there, because what you're actually looking for is not somebody took a software for retailers and took that national. That's so hyper specific, and they will be competitive. Actually, you could learn tons from someone who's taken a store like Freshie and has franchises in more than one. And what are the issues in managing? You might find staff in PEI who have managed multi-provincial offices and businesses, and that is always very, very useful. Simon, thank you very much for your message, much appreciated. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Thank you. And if there is anything you would like, happy obviously to help and tailor. But do you see what I mean about pattern recognition? So Troy, to answer your very good question, you're looking for pattern recognition. You're looking for, it's not specific, it's not hyper specific, and you may learn more. You remember that thing about the ancient Greek thing? You might learn more from seeking that range and those pattern recognitions, which are completely revolutionary. I always remember there was this, so Stanford, their entrepreneurship course is legendary. And the people who do the Stanford entrepreneurship elective are the most sought after employees. Employers love them. Employers really, really covet being able to recruit these people. Unfortunately, most of them, want to do their own startup or something. So there was this legendary professor who took that group of 60, there were 60 students, and broke them into teams of like 6. So there were 10 groups of 6. And she said, I'm going to give each team 3 hours and $5. So you've got 3 hours tomorrow to do some work. You can think about it now, do whatever you want now, but you can't do any of the work. And I'm going to give you $5 per team. And in a month's time, I want to get a list. I want the list by the end of this week of how much money you've made. But then in a month's time, I'm going to get people to present to the group for about 10 minutes. The top, 10, I'm going to get you all to present for 10 minutes to the group on how you made the most money. So let's imagine I set you that challenge. What are you going to do? No worries, Gregor. No worries. Thank you for letting me know.
So, skill sets and values of the team. What are you each bringing to the table?
Great. So let's say one's a mechanical engineer. Let's say one's whatever. Let's say it's very, very complicated. You've got $5 and 4 hours, 3 hours. What are you going to do with them? So what happened with most of them? What they did was most of them did, let's buy some vegetables, some fruits that are about to expire and quickly sell them to a smoothie shop. So we could buy fruit for next to nothing, sell them to a smoothie store that could use. So some of them did that. Some of them, the car washing thing, the typical, let's start with $5, buy some t-shirts, buy something that we can then sell. So they all did that. Some of them made $200, $300. And the most anybody did doing that was about $400. The winning team, they did this thing where they, almost to your point, Troy, they looked at the skills and they looked at the assets they had. And they realized the biggest asset they had was the ability to speak to this group of 60 students for 10 minutes. That was their biggest asset. So all they did was they said, right, we're going to sell our slot of presenting for 10 minutes. So what they did was they just spent their 3 hours phoning up companies that would like to employ people from those 60 and said, would you like to present to this group? How much are you willing to pay for it? So they managed to raise $800 in 2 hours. They raised $800, so they won. That's brilliant. And then you ask, well, how can you be that creative? How can you be creativity? Well, actually, it's not that creative when you think about it. All they did was they recognized that the $5 was a red herring. They recognized that you can work with your team members was a red herring. It was deliberately designed to make you think, what can I buy for $5? And that's what happens in business. We acted, all right, what can I do with this? And you miss the big asset. And they recognize the big asset is there are lots of consultancy firms that will pay a fortune to speak to this group. Why don't you just bid that? So sometimes we don't, in our businesses, we don't, but the point is, what was the point? The point was about what are you looking for in mentors and what are you looking for in expertise? You're looking for people who can help you by asking you those questions. Because if I was mentoring Matthew, I would say, Matthew, what are the assets you have? And make them think, oh, what about, wow. And I'll make you think, a good mentor will make you think differently about what you already have. If that makes sense. Thank you, Simone. Thank you very much. So I hope that's helped. So I've got 9 minutes left, which isn't a lot of time. So, and because I want to respect your time, I know people do have other commitments. So are there any questions I can actually specifically, so somebody asked actually about finding mentors, how to get finding. So we talked about, start off with the startup zone and then think through the pattern match and think through actually who does have experience and who would enjoy mentoring me? What can I offer them in terms of the conversation, not money, but can I offer them rich conversations? Matthew, did you have a question? I saw your arm go up, or was that just you had a stretch?
Well, it's related to what you're talking about now, and it's maybe adding on to my previous question is that so I really love what you're saying, that it's about what's in it for the mentor, and rich conversation is certainly that's absolutely something that's beneficial for the mentor. So I guess I agree. I think we all agree. And I guess I'm just, in terms of that search, is most people, I think they think of the old school way of mentorship, or maybe they think it's more of a consultant, whereas they call it mentor, but they're more acting like consultants. So I guess just in terms of that search, do you so I guess it's just, maybe you're already going to talk about it, but maybe talk about the finer points of actually having that conversation on this point, because I do agree that this is a more valuable relationship that you're describing. So
And what's interesting is, Matthew, is none of my mentors know that they're my mentors.
Yeah.
You know, I don't tell my wife on a daily basis, oh, by the way, you do remember you're my wife.
Yeah.
Just clarifying, you know, you're my wife. I mean, that's probably a very bad example because, you know, you have to ask them to marry you kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there are lots of examples where, you know, you don't tell your children, oh, you're my child. They kind of know. And with mentors, none of my mentors, I never had the, oh, by the way, are you my mentor? No, I just meet them for coffee. So I say, hey, do you fancy meeting up for a chat?
Okay.
And that's how most mentoring happens. Most mentoring isn't formal. The problem I have, and I'm just being blunt, and I know these Startup Zone people are here and I love them very much and they know I do, but I think one of the problems I have with facilitated mentoring, where Startup Zone do the hard work for you, is I think sometimes the mentees don't appreciate the mentors as much as if they had to find them themselves. It's almost like, because the hard work's done for you. So I've always found when I mentor through organizations, I don't enjoy it as much, only because the mentees tend to be, well, this is your job, or you're getting paid, or you're this or that. So one of the things I did was with some of the people I mentor, I don't get paid because I think it keeps the relationship honest. But people need to be paid, and people have a value in their time. So I have no, I'm not disparaging anybody who gets paid. I'm just saying I prefer to mentor people who want to be mentored by me, and not people who see this as part of a, well, I've kind of, you know, part of the perks of being in Startup Zone is, you know, you get an hour free with, you know, a mentor. So I might as well. And then they start the mentoring session with, right, so this is what I do. What can you teach me? And it's like, okay, we're done. Because trust me, I don't need the money. So yeah, see it. So have a think about, if you really do, forget the fact that Startup Zone have done all the hard work for you. Treat that relationship with the respect you would like. There was a person I had as a speaker recently, Richard Mulholland from South Africa, phenomenal. I got to work with him. Clark, I think you were in on that call. I think Richard Mulholland from South Africa, when he was talking about how to present. And one of the, oh no, you missed it. It was awesome. And one of the things he talked about was, when you are a speaker, you have got to enjoy yourself, because if you've had less than a 7 out of 10 experience, there is no way any of your feedback is going to be greater than 7 out of 10. And I think mentoring, and I thought, wow, that's a very powerful concept, that if I'm not enjoying myself, I can't expect the audience to enjoy themselves. And with mentoring, I feel the same way. If you don't come to it with a wow energy attitude and this is going to be good, it will not be good for me either. And I now have that pattern recognition. After 10,000 hours, you hope I'd get that. I will call a lot of mentoring sessions off after the first 3 or 4 minutes. I say, hey, you know what? Let's sorry, I'm really sorry, but let's do this. How about you do this homework? I think it'd be really good if we could have a next mentoring session. But before the next mentoring session, I just would like you to think of issues 1, 2, and 3. All right? And then I know that I'm never going to be contacted by them again, because they won't do the homework 1, 2, 3. But it's a very polite way of ending the conversation. So it's not saying, hey, this is not going to go anywhere, so I wish you good luck, this isn't working. No, there's no need to be rude. You just say, listen, I think you'll get a lot more value if you could just answer these 3 questions, and then we'll meet again. And that's the end of the session. So with Troy, I've always set him some homework, and he always does the homework. So we always have more meaningful conversations, because we can talk about things. Whereas the last thing I want to do is have deja vu conversations where, you know what I told you last time? That's still the case. So good luck, and speak to you again. And then next week, I'll tell you exactly what I told you for the last 2 weeks. So approach the relationship with respect, and approach the relationship with, you have someone's time. And it's nothing to do with seniority. Everybody's time is valuable. Your time is just as valuable as mine. It really is just as valuable as mine. So I want to respect your time, and I also want you to respect my time. Nothing to do with rank, hierarchy, nothing to do with that. It's just about this common, let's respect each other's time. So then we are there, let's do stuff. So any final thoughts with 3 minutes to go?
Yeah, I'd like to maybe mention that I found that when you're talking to somebody, or with somebody might be a better way to put it, they like to hear you talk about them. Like I've got a buddy, every time I talk to him, it's like, how's your wife? How's Joanne? How are the kids? How are that? And I love talking to him. So if I'm looking for a mentor and I find somebody, like you said, freshie or whatever, I'm not going to tell them, oh, I'm Barry Sheik and I have Retail Magic and I. It'll be, you're freshie, you're so-and-so, you're that. How did you do that? How did you? So I show interest in their situation, which will make them comfortable and enjoy it. And I will glean the information I want serendipitously or whatever.
Absolutely. Barry, well said. How do you become interesting? You become interesting by being interested.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. I mean, people always think there's this, you know, I always feel sorry for the people who read the book Charisma, How to Get That Special Magic. And it's like, no. Just be interested. It's as simple as that. Be interested, and then you will be interesting. It's as simple as that. So thank you very much for that, Barry. Yeah, and that's the way to do it. It's not about you. It's about, they're already there. They're already mentoring. And it's if somebody is giving up an hour, if you're doing most of the speaking, by definition, you're not learning anything. Because clearly you already know what you're saying. Which is why speakers are paid and the audience aren't, because the speakers aren't learning anything. The audience are, hopefully, if it's a good speaker. Rachel, do you have any last words you want to say before you take this home?
I don't think so. No, I think it was awesome. Yeah, I guess just like normally we say, how can people get in touch with you? But that's what the whole session's been about. So hopefully folks are kind of looking toward either getting in touch with you or other mentors. But no, I really think
Oh, what happened?
Oh.
Something she said?
I don't know what happened there. We're not really good with technology. Yeah, I think that other.
Here we are. Yeah, it's working now.
If we want.
So yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, please do so through Startup Zone.
There we go. Sorry, we didn't hear you for a couple minutes, but we're
No,
all back.
I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you. So yeah, if there's anything you want to say before we kind of, or Patrick, do you want to say anything, or Sebastian, do you want to say anything before we bring this to a close?
No, all good. Please reach out to any of the mentors, experts. If you're looking for someone, we'll help you find them. So don't hesitate to reach out. There's never a stupid question for us to help answer. Perfect.
And Simon and Simon, I hope you found that useful as well. And again, I'm sorry I couldn't. Thank you, Simon. Hopefully I'll see you in person soon. And yeah, thank you very much. I'll stay on for another 5 or 10 minutes. I always do, just in case there are questions you do want to ask that you didn't want to necessarily do in a group. So if you have to go, thank you very much for your attendance. As I said, I'll stay on, and I think Patrick or Rachel will stay on for another couple of minutes.
Yeah,
but otherwise, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Troy. Speak to you soon. Thank you, Matthew. Yeah. Thanks, Clark. Always good to see you. Sure. Barry, as I said, happy to stay on. Really good to see you.
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna leave to go on. I just wanted to correct something you were saying. You said you have 8 installs on the island. No, I have 40 installs.
I apologize. Thank you for the correction.
That's why we're going national, because we've saturated this market.
Beautiful.
Appreciate it. Excellent session.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Thank you, Barry. Hopefully I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Well, I appreciate I got a lot of value out of it, and so yeah, I just want to thank you for this. It's a really good frameworks, and it shows that you have a lot of experience in this. So I really appreciate you taking it. Yeah.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure. Anything for the Startup Zone. They've always been very good to me. We're good friends.
Yeah. Wonderful.
So Simon Santos, hope everything is good with you. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for your share. Thanks for your time. It's really good. I appreciate it.
Very welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks. So Rachel, I think that's it. So thank you very much. That was a good session. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Permjot.
My pleasure. I'll speak to you soon.
Sweet. Awesome. Have a great rest of your day.
Take care. All the best. Bye for now.